Hey guys, welcome to yet another episode, and today we'll be talking about TSP. Okay, so thrift savings plans. To make my job easier, I have this frequently asked questions, and I compile those questions so that as I answer the questions, whatever questions that you might have in regards to the TSP, hopefully will be answered. And if not answered, as always, just leave it in the comment section below, and I'm sure to come back and answer those questions. Now, we'll dive right into it. But before we do that, I just want to let you guys know this video is going to be a little longer than my usual videos. And I believe that for a video that has so much impact in your future, right, is going to set up your retirement, something that has to deal with money. I believe that the video being a little longer is beneficial, especially if it's going to help you in 10, 20 years to come. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Now, for our first question, it says, "What is TSP and how did it come about?" Okay, so TSP is Thrift Savings Plan. That's the full name for it, and it is equivalent to the civilian's 401k, right? Someone might say, "What are we talking about? What is TSP? What is 401k?" So these two programs, right, are retirement. So it's like a retirement package that companies, employers, and government agencies set up for people who work for them. Okay, so that as you work over the course of your years, so let's say you start working at age 20. Most retirement average is around 60 years or 59 and a half if you want to be technical. But as you work from age 20 all the way through 60, right? Most people retire and go on vacations or sit home, or unfortunate situations like medical conditions happen, and all these things play a role in retirement. Okay, so when that happens, and obviously you can't go back to work, you need some type of cushion to keep you going all the way through, right? And that is where these programs come in. So your TSP, your 401k, as you work, the government takes a chunk of your salary and puts it towards it's like, consider it the government being a savings account, right? And then as you work for this many years, they take a little chunk of money, put it in that savings account. And then when you retire at an elder age when you're not able to work, they give you that money they've been saving over the years. They give it to you in a lump sum, or they spread it over a certain number of agreed years. So like I mentioned earlier, TSP is Thrift Savings Plan. And Thrift Savings Plan is the government's version of a 401k. All right, so on the civilian side, if you work for whatever company, let's say Tesla, Apple, you have a 401k, health field, restaurant, whatever job you do, you have a 401k, and they take a little bit of that money and put it towards your retirement. Now, if you work for a federal agency or you are part of the military, right, regardless of branch, when you work, they take a chunk of that money also and put it towards your TSP. It says who is eligible. So like I mentioned, federal employees are eligible for TSP. So if you work for the US Postal Service, if you work for FBI, CIA, things that has to do with the government, right? You're eligible for it. And military, so Air Force, Navy, Army, weather reserves, active duty, you also qualify for TSP. The third question I have here is, what are the types of TSP? So we have two types of TSP, okay? Two types of the Thrift Savings Plan. We have the traditional, and then we have the Roth, okay? So the traditional was the original program. When the TSP first came out in 1986, the traditional was the first program that they had. The Roth is very young. The Roth ended up joining the game in around 2012. That was when they introduced the Roth TSP. It says, what is the difference between Roth and traditional? Now, this is how it works. With the traditional TSP, right? So if the government pays you, before they take out any taxes, before they take out any social security, state taxes, federal taxes, before they take out any of that taxes, the government takes out whatever amount that you've set. Let's say you set 10% to be taken away from your salary every month, right? Or every 2 weeks. Now the government takes that money before taxes. Do you get what I'm saying? Before the taxes will hit, the government takes 10% of whatever your gross income is for that 2 week pay period or for that monthly pay period, whatever it is. It takes away the money before taxes. Now, on the Roth side, right, Roth TSP, the difference is the government takes it after your taxes. So you have your state taxes go through, your federal taxes, if you have some medical insurance, like all these little things will go through. Then after that, whatever money that is left, it will now take out 10% of it towards your retirement. And then someone might ask, well, why would I want to take the money after taxes, right? Why won't I just take it before taxes? Now, the difference is with traditional, mind you, with traditional, the money is being taken before taxes. But the downside to it is when you are due for retirement and you go to take out your money, you're like, okay, I've saved up $600,000 over the course of 30 years. And okay, I'm going to take my retirement money. The government is going to be like, okay, you've been taking all this money from X tax free, right? Now that you're about to take out the money, we'll slam you with a 30% or 40% tax. So suddenly the 600,000 that you're seeing in your account drops to like say 420,000, right? But with the Roth TSP, because they took the money after you've paid your taxes, right? So whatever taxes that you have to pay at the end, you are prepaying those taxes right now. So whatever money you see at age 60 when you're ready to retire, if it is $600,000, then you are taking $600,000. That is what the difference is. So it just depends on what you want to do. Do you want to pay taxes now and not have to think about it later? Or you don't want to pay taxes now and then get taxes taken later? It just depends. Right. So my fifth question here is, how much can I contribute? Okay, so the government sets a cap as to how much you can contribute within a given year. Okay, so in a year you can contribute up to $19,500, right? $19,500 is the max that you can contribute towards your TSP. Now, if you go above $19,500, you'll be slammed with penalties, right? So it's not even worth it. It's not even worth once you get to 19,400, 19,450-ish. It's pretty much done. That is enough for that year. If you have extra money, hold on to it till the next year rolls around. Now, this is different when you're at age 50, right? Once you turn 50, you can do what is called a TSP catch-up program. And what that does is, instead of you doing just $19,500, it gives you the opportunity to bump it up $6,500 more. So instead of $19,000, you can do your $19,500, but you are allowed to contribute up to $6,500 more. And what is the reason with that? Are people 50 years and above having special privileges than us? No, that is not it. So once you're at age 50, you are very close to retirement, right? You are close to 60 years. Let's say there was this individual who never knew about TSP. So all their life, they never contributed. And suddenly at age 50, they found out that, oh, there is this program where you can contribute towards retirement. But because age 50 to age 60 is so short, it's just 10 years, the government gives them the option to contribute a lot more. Like, okay, let me hustle and put so much more money down towards my retirement as compared to someone who is at age 25 and has so much years before they get to 60. So does it make sense why I say they don't have special privileges, but it's because they are closer to that threshold. The government gives them the opportunity to contribute a lot more. To my third question, it says, how much of my paycheck should I contribute? Now, this is a personal decision, okay, but the rule of thumb, or what I encourage people that I teach TSP to, is to start with 5%. Okay, so if you just joined the military, right? You're a young recruit, you just went through basic training, you joined the military. Now there is a program called Blended Retirement System. That's a whole topic for another day. But the government already takes out 10% of your income towards your TSP. But let's say you're in a situation where the government didn't do it automatically. You just want to start it yourself. I say start at 5%, and every other month increase it by 1%. Right? So the reason why I say that is, if you contribute anything below 5%, you don't get the full advantage of how the government matches your money. So it's like when you contribute a certain percent, 5% and above, the government takes that money, gives you extra money, okay, and that is used to like build compound interest on your account over the period of times that you keep saving money in it. Now, anything below 5%, you're not really making any much money on it. So my rule of thumb is always start at 5%. Every other month, try to increase it by 1% so that you don't feel it too much. Because if you just start at 5% and your next paycheck comes around the next month, you shoot it all the way to 30%, your paycheck is going to be really tiny, if anything is even left at that point, right? So start it every other month, increase it by 1%, and keep doing it all the way till you're at 20%. Now, a comfortable region is 20%, right? But it depends on what you're trying to do. If you think you are going to be working all the way till you turn 60, you can hold it at 20%. But if you think that you want to retire, maybe your military, you just want to do your 20 years and come out. Average, a lot of people retire around 40 years in the military, right? Now, in a situation like that, you want to contribute more so that you have more. Since from 40 to 60, it's another 20 years of you not doing anything. If you choose to, you want to contribute as much money as possible to ride you from 40 all the way to 60. So in this situation, I'll say contribute all the way to like 40%, 50%. 50% usually is the max you can go with your base pay anyways. So contribute the max. Try to hit that $19,500 every single year. And once you keep doing it like that, your TSP is going to blow, like your account is going to blow real huge. What type of funds does the TSP offer? Okay, every type of retirement account offers some types of fund in it, and the TSP, there are 6 types of fund in the TSP. Okay, so 6 types of funds. Now, even though it's 6 types of funds, it is more like 5 funds plus an additional fund, right? And I'll explain it for you guys to understand. Now, the first 5 funds are called individual funds. So we have the Government Security Fund, which is known as the G Fund in short. We have the Fixed Income Investment Fund, which is known as the F Fund. Then we have Common Stock Index Fund, which is known as the C Fund. We have Small Capitalization Fund, which is known as the S Fund. And then we have the last one in the individual funds is known as International Stock Fund, which is the I Fund. Then the sixth one is a different type of fund on its own, known as life cycle funds, and I'll explain it in a minute. Now, life cycle funds, right, are automated. Okay, so when you go into your TSP to set up your funds, right, the way life cycle funds works is you can pick a year that you plan on retiring. In this situation, let's say you plan on retiring at the year 2040. Okay, 2040 is when you plan on retiring. Now you can click on 2040 and then set your TSP that way. Now what it will do is, since 2040 is about 20 years away, the algorithm, what it does is it will aggressively invest whatever fund that you have going inside. So let's say you are contributing 20% of your paycheck, right? It's, when I say aggressively invest, is that it will take risk with your money, right? And I know risk sounds bad, but for this situation, just look at it as not being something bad, okay? It will take an aggressive risk with your money because it knows that you have 20 years to retire, right? And now as you approach your 20 years, so let's say you're at your 12-year mark, 15-year mark, then it will slowly start to reverse the role. Instead of aggressively investing the bulk of your money, it will now not aggressively invested. It will be more conservative with your money. So let's say at age, let's say around 15 years into your 20 year before you retire, right? Instead of it investing heavily into riskier accounts. Now, mind you, the more riskier the account is, the more profit there is on it. And the more safe you play it, the less interest there is on it. So when I say risk, this is what I mean. So as you approach your 50-year mark, it will stop taking more risk, right? Because as you approach your retirement, it wants to preserve your money, because you don't want to be so close to your retirement and then losing hundreds of thousands because the algorithm is taking risk with your money, right? Even though taking risks brings a higher rate of return, but in this situation, we just want to play it safe till we get to your retirement. So that's life cycle fund. Now the downside to that is it is a computer, right? A computer, in a sense, is programmed, right, to do certain things certain ways. It doesn't know what you plan to do with your future. It doesn't know anything like that. So you don't have control. You're leaving your future for a computer to decide. And some people are okay with it like that. Some people are actually okay. But that isn't something I'll personally do. And the reason why, I want to play an active role in my future. I want to see where my money is going. I want to know that if this fund isn't doing well, I want to be able to switch it to a different fund that is doing well. Not leave it for a computer who will decide based on whatever it thinks that is right. All right, so that is life cycle funds. All right, so let's look at individual funds. Okay, so in the individual funds, you guys remember that I mentioned about the G fund. I talked about F fund, C fund, S fund, I fund. These are all different types of fund that are within the individual funds. So now in this type of funds, you can control where your money goes, right? So you control it by percentages. Okay, so when you go onto the Tsp.gov website, and I'll link a lot of resources down there to help you guys. Okay, so when you go on the website, you can be able to say, okay, well, when you take $100 of my paycheck, I want 10% going into the G fund, I want 5% going into I fund, I want 20% going into S fund. So you get to control where your money goes at the end of the day. But with that also, because you can't really tell what will happen in the future, the wrong move on your side can really take a huge impact on your money, right? So you have to be careful where you move your money. That's why some people just prefer life cycle funds where the computer does everything for them. But other people who are a little bit more frisky, they want to, they want to do the things themselves, will much rather control the money. It's just like people who like automatic vehicles, right? They just want to put it in drive and the vehicle go. But there are some enthusiasts. There are people that want to connect with the vehicle. They want to be able to shift in first, second, third, hit into reverse, back to first. They want to be able to do those things because to them, they feel like they are connected to the vehicle if they're able to do all those things, right? But the other people that just want to put it in drive and go. I'll be putting up a screen in a moment. We'll be looking at the different types of individual fund. We'll look at which funds are better, right? Depending on where you are in your investment, right? Which ones are more riskier, which ones bring a better rate of return, and we'll be looking at which ones are just the play it safe zone. Like, you're not trying to lose money, you're not in the business. Actually, no one wants to lose money, really. But in order to make money in investment, you need to be able to take risk. Because if you're not taking risk, then you'll be in something like the G fund, where it's just cruising by slowly. You are barely making an interest on the money. Or you can be a little more, like I said, frisky and want to take it to the next step and invest in something like the S fund. Now the S fund brings a high rate of return, but when it dips, oh boy, when it goes down, your money goes down with it. All right, so like I said, we're in the G fund. Okay, so this is the G fund, and remember I mentioned there are the different types of fund: G fund, F fund, C fund, S fund, and then I fund. Now all this information, like I said, I'll link it down in the description box, but this information is from Tsp.gov. Okay, so that is where you go to set up your TSP account. That is where you go to check on how your money is doing and all of that. All right, so now let's take a look at the G fund, right? Mostly the G fund is full of government securities, okay? So the US Treasury Department normally sets the interest rate for the G fund. Now, it was created in 1987, so that was a year after the TSP program was created. Okay, so now 2020 year to date, we are looking at 0.89%. And this is so low because this is not even 1% rate of return on your money. So imagine you put 10,000 into your TSP, you are getting less than 1% on it. But now when we go to performance and risk, right, we are looking at, within the past year, it made 2.24% rate of return. So you're making 2.2%, 2.24% on the money that you already have in there, right? So in 3 years, it shows you 5 years, 10 years. And in the lifetime, so since this program was created, since the G Fund was created, the average has been 4.94%. So that has been the average. So like right here, when you're looking at the G Fund, it's just a hair under 5%. Okay. And now we'll look at composition. What makes up the G Fund? Like I said, usually it is short-term US Treasury securities. That's 100%. Like the Treasury controls the what is it called? The G Fund 100%. Now the good thing about the G Fund is you're not going to lose money anytime soon. Like when you're looking at it, if this is inflation, right, your money steadily rise over the years, right? Over the years, your money just like it is not doing so well, but it is not going down either. It is not doing so well, but it's not going down either. So that is the G Fund for you. Now let's take a look at the F Fund. Now the F Fund is fixed income index. Okay, so this has to do with like bonds, your mortgages. So if a lot of people are paying their mortgages and people are not going into foreclosures and stuff, then your money is going to make interest, right? If the government is able to get debts and stuff from people, like people are paying their debt, then you make interest. Now if people are not paying their debt and they are just filing bankruptcies left and right, then your money is going to take a dip too. Now the F Fund is ever so slightly better than the G Fund is. So we'll take a look at it. Now 2020 year to date, we are looking at a annual return of 7.35%. Now in the G Fund, let's go back and take a look at the G Fund for a minute. In a G Fund, we're looking at 0.89%. That is not even 1%, but when you come to the here to the F Fund, you're looking at what? 7.35%. and within the past year, it's been 8.68%. And then in the 10-year period, now, mind you, looking at the G Fund's 10-year period was 2.23%, right? 2.23%. That was the average annual returns for the past 10 years, 2.23. Now, when you look in the F Fund, the average is 3.99. So like I said, it's ever so slightly better than the G Fund. So if you don't want to play it 100% safe where you're barely making anything, your next bet is the F Fund. Now, let's take a look at this. So right here, we were looking at the past 10 years, okay? Now let's look at the lifetime of the F Fund. The lifetime of the F Fund has been 6.14%. Okay, so 6.14% has been the lifetime of the annual rate of return for the lifetime of the F Fund. Okay, so let's see the companies, the things that make up the F Fund. So like I said, most of them are credits, you see. So credits constitute 29%. So anytime the bank lends out money, like asset-backed securities, 29.6, government-related, 41.5%. So these are mostly debt-related things. If a lot of people are paying their debt, then you're going to be making more interest on it. If a lot of people are not really paying their debt or are not concerned about their debt, then your money is going to take a dip. Now, let's move to the next. This is one of my favorite funds. So this is the common stock index fund, okay? And when you look at 2020, right? While the G fund and then the F fund were in about what? The G fund was less than 1%. The F fund was about 7%, but the C fund was about 13.93%. So if you invested whatever money into it, you're looking at 13.93 annual rate of returns, okay? And now within the past year, you're looking at 31.45%. 31.45% is what you're looking at with. So let's say 2019 January to December 2020, right? If you invested whatever amount, you are looking at 31.45% interest your money would have made. And mind you, the more money you have invested, the more returns, the more significant your return is. Because even though this is 31.5%, 45%, if you only have $100 invested, 31.45 is not going to mean anything to you. But the same 31.45 annual rate of return will be so much more hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on someone who has invested $100,000. So keep that in mind. Now within 10-year average is 13.59%. Now let's look at top 10 holdings. So these are like the top 10 companies within the C fund. We have Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, Berkshire, JP Morgan, Alphabet, Johnson & Johnson, Visa. Okay, now let's look at the performance and risk. Now the C fund tries to mimic the S&P 500. Okay, so the top 500 medium to large companies in the US. That is what the C fund tries to mimic. Now when you look at it, a lifetime since this program came into place has been 10.66%. 10.6. Now, when you look at the graph for this, right, the G fund, when you take a look at it, the G fund was slowly rising. Let's take a look at the G fund real quick. Look at the G fund, right? Slowly increasing, okay? And it was within $500. It was within $500. Like what? 484.70, right? That is the G fund. Now look at the C fund. Now the C fund, even though yes, it has some dips, right? Let's look at this lowest point. The lowest point it went was 498. its lowest point is higher than it has ever been for the G fund, and it slowly keeps rising all the way to $2,533. So you can see how the C fund is is a better fund to go with, even though it's risky, because you do see some dips here, you see some dips, but slowly it keeps rising, right? And some people can't tolerate these dips. Some people can just see their money go down like this. They can see their money go down like this, and for that reason, they just want to be in a G fund that slowly rises, and that's okay. That's okay. But to me, I feel like it's a waste of time if you're in the G fund. Now let's take a look at the composition. Okay, so the things that make up the C fund mostly is information technology, and we all know IT industries are booming right now. Like, IT industries are making money. We know healthcare, like registered nurses, making ton of money. There is financial, there's communication services, consumer discretionary, industrial, like all the big companies, real estate you want to associate your money with are in the C fund. So you see why the C fund is easily one of my favorite funds. Now let's take a look at the S fund real quick. So now, hold on, take a look at this number, 22.95% in 2020, and take a look at the C fund, averaging 13.93% in 2020. So 2020, if you had your money in the S fund 100%, you just made it. You just made it big time, because look, year to date has been 27.97, and over 10-year period it has been 13.8. 13%, similar to the C fund. So now let's take a look at some of the companies that make up the S fund. Now the S fund, the C fund, mind you, is companies that are medium to large companies. Okay, medium to large companies, and then the S funds are small to medium companies. Are you guys seeing the difference? So like Tesla, Blackstone, Lululemon, I don't even know what company that is, Workday, Splunk, I know Costa, there is Square Incorporation, and some other ones, right? Now let's take a look at the performance and risk. So the lifetime of the S fund has been averaging 9.19% average rate of return. Okay, and compare that to the C fund. Let's take a look at the C fund real quick. Let's go to performance and risk. That has been 10.66. So the C fund and S fund is like really close. And the reason why it is really close is there is a bridge, because the S fund is small companies to medium, and then the C fund is medium to large. And a lot of companies fall between the mediums, like they are in between. They are not small and they are not large. So that is why the C fund is very, very close. If you look at historically, it's very close to the behavior of the S fund, because they have they interject, they have that middle grounds called the middle companies. Okay, now so let's take a look at this graph real quick. Now if you're looking at this, there's a dip here, there is a dip here, it goes up, there is a dip, it keeps going up, but there's a dip, it keeps going up, but there's a dip. So this whole up and down with this little dips here are the reasons why a lot of people try to play it safe. They want to stay in the F fund, they want to stay in the G fund, they want to just do life cycle funds. Some people can't tolerate seeing their money go down at all, right? But I believe if you're in your early 20s to 30 years, I think that it is good for you to invest your money in the C and S fund, because guess what? Even if the market goes down, it always rises back up. It goes down and even rises back up all the way. So if you are just scared of taking risks, then your money is going to be in the G fund, and it's going to be averaging what, 0.89%, when the money could be in a C fund averaging 13%, or it could even be in your S fund averaging 22.95%. right? So it just depends on what you want to do. Now let's look at the I fund. The I fund averages around 3.37%. That's not too bad. For the past year, it has been around 22.47%, and the average of 10 years has been 5.85%. Now, I fund is mostly international funds, so most of the companies you see on here are major in other countries. They are not like as big in the US, but they are major. So, like when you look at Nestle, when you look at things like Toyota based off in Japan, and other one, Toyota SA, and other companies that I'm not too familiar with. Now let's take a look at the performance and risk real quick. Now we are looking at 5% lifetime. So 5% compared to the S fund, which was averaging 9.19% lifetime, right? Compared to the C fund. Let's look at the C fund real quick. The C fund averaging 10.66%. Okay, and look at the G fund. The G fund has been averaging 4.94%. So it all depends. It really depends on what you want to, how you want to see your money behave in the course of the years. Obviously, if you're around your 50-year mark, getting towards 60, you want to play it safe, right? You want to play it safe and stay within the G fund so your money is not taking any ridiculous dips. But if you are within your 20s, your prime, you want to put it S fund aggressively between the S and C fund, right? So that once you start approaching 50 years, you can start going into F fund, into the G fund, and into some I funds. It all depends on how much risk you can tolerate. Now in the I fund, let's take a look at what the graph. The I fund is even more scarier because you think risking in the C and S fund is not fun. Take a look at the I fund. It even went below the inflation bar. This is the inflation bar right here. Look at your money going all the way down. Well, it climbs up to around $200, but takes a dip way below $100, and then comes up, takes a dip, comes up, takes it, and it keeps doing this. Yeah, me for one, I'm never going to put my money in the I fund. That's just me. But you know, other people like to see it differently, but that's not me. Now let's take a look at the composition. Now looking at the composition, France, right? France is 11.5%. So France has a huge say in what your money looks like in the US, right? And it's crazy. The UK has a huge say, 16.7%. The UK determines how your money behaves in the US. And then even crazier is Japan. Japan determines to at 24.5%. They are like the sole influencer. So if companies in Japan is doing well, if Toyota is booming, if Mazda is booming, if all these Japanese companies are booming, then your money is going to be doing well in the US. But if let's say Toyota is not selling enough Corollas, they are not selling enough RAV4s, they are not selling enough vehicles, guess what? Even though it's off in Japan, your money is going to be affected here in the US. So you have to be careful where you allocate your money. Where should I invest? So I've talked about G fund, I've talked about life cycle funds, we've tried to see what TSP is. I've heard all this information, but where do I put my money? Now I'm interested in what you've said, right? You've given me all this information. Now I want to know where to put my money. Now, first off, you need to make sure you have an account, right? So you can go on Tsp.gov. It's pretty simple. Just go create an account. It will ask you where you work. It will gather information about you and stuff and create an account for you. That account, if you're in the military, can be linked to my pay. If you know my pay, you're pretty much in the military. If you don't know it, you want to ask a supervisor or a colleague to help you out, figure out my pay. Now, good thing about the military is when you go into my pay, it has a direct link built into it. So you can do your TSP, you can adjust your TSP percentages in my pay. So that's a good thing. Now, let's say you've created an account, you've done all of that. Now the government is taking 10-15% from your paycheck and is going into your TSP. Now you're trying to see, okay, now I'm in my TSP, but where do I put my money? Like I said, you can be the first person who does now mind you, let me put out this disclaimer. Once your TSP is set, when the money first comes through, they all go straight into the G fund, because TSP doesn't know what you want to do with your money. So they'll play it safe. They'll take it all and put it in the G fund for you. And that is the big mistake that a lot of people don't realize. A lot of people who never check up on their TSP, yes, they see 10% going into a retirement account, but they are never concerned to take a look at, okay, how is my money actually behaving in the TSP? So over 10-15 years, they have their money sitting in the G fund, and they're losing out on all this 30% rate of return, 20% rate of return. They are there making less than a percent rate of return. You see, so that is why it's so important that once you set up your TSP, you go in there and now try to switch after you've decided between traditional and Roth. Mind you, I talk about traditional being before taxes, right? They take the money before taxes. And Roth being they take it after taxes. After you decided between those two, you're like, okay, I'll go with Roth, right? Now you've set up the Roth. Where would you want your money to go? Personally, I made a little chart here. If you are between the age of 18 and 30, right? This is what I've seen work. I would say put 60% of your money into the C fund, and then put 40% into the S fund. Now we've seen that the C and S fund are very aggressive and they take risk, but they bring so much interest also. So I'll say keep your money between the C and S fund, 60 mostly in the C and 40 in the S. Now, once you hit 30 or 31, between 31 and 45, this is what I'll suggest you do. Still keep 60% in your C fund, but 20% in the S fund, 10% in the G fund, and 10% in the I fund. And the reason why I say this is, yes, 60% are still taking risk, but we know the S fund to take more dives than the C fund does. So now you've reduced the risk and you are taking only 20% in there, and then 10% in the G fund to keep your money coasting, and then 10% in the I fund, which really depends on other countries, right? Other countries will determine how your 10% is doing. Now, once you approach age 46 to 60, this is the crucial zone. Once you approach age 46 to 60, you start switching things up. 60% of your money is going to the G fund. You have 20% now in the C fund. So the bulk of your money is just coasting slowly. 20% of it will still be aggressively investing, trying to get that rate of returns, right? And then 10% to be in the S fund, still investing but not as much, and 10% in the I fund. Then once you hit age 60, right? Age 60 is where a lot of people retire and they're like, look, I want my money back now, or I'll just keep investing, but I don't want to take any risk at all. So at age 60, I'll say put 90% in your G fund. We know G fund to be the safe bet. Put it in the G fund, let it slowly just cruise by. You are barely making anything, but that's fine. You are not losing money either, right? You are not losing money. Your money is intact. You are just barely scratching the surface of the interest, right? And then put 10% in the C fund so that 10% will be aggressively investing. But at least if it takes a dip, you know it's just 10% of your income, right? But if it makes interest also, you know it's just 10%, 90% is in a safe spot. So that has been it for this video. I know it was a lot of talking, it was a lot of demonstration, a lot of examples, but I do believe that if it is something concerning the security of your future, right, this investment is what is going to determine what your older years will be when you're left all alone by yourself, and maybe your kids are gone to different places, right? They've left, they are married or whatever. At least you have this set in place that you can be able to fend for yourself, leave wealth for the next generation that is coming, be able to donate, be able to live life how it was meant to be. So I believe that a longer video to give you all the tips to make a smart decision is worth it. And down in the description box, I'll leave a Facebook group. It's a community where a lot of TSP knowledge is. There's a lot of people there that talk about TSP. You get to see how much people are making, because the average money that I've seen for retirement is around 1.5 million. If you play your TSP cards well, within 20 years, you should be able to have about 1.5 million due to the power of compound interest, right? You see people they're making $2 million, you see people making $1 million by the time they are due for retirement. And this military retirement, I'm talking about 40, 45 years, 50 years. This is not even 60 years. So imagine if at 50 years you have 1 million or 1.5 and are just coasting all the way to 2 million. Because here's the thing, what I've noticed is that from the day you start investing to your first 100,000 is the difficult part. Because even though you may be making 40, 50% return on investment, you are not really seeing it, because 0 to 100,000 is like nothing in terms of TSP, right? But once you hit 100,000, from 100,000 to 200,000 goes by quick. From 200 to 500,000 goes by quick. And 500 to a million goes by quick. A million to 2 million goes by quick. But it's like a million to 2 million will take about, I want to say, if everything, all things being equal, and you were making a 30%, it will take you about 6 months to get to 2 million for 1 million. But from 0 to 100,000 can take you up to 6 years, depending on how much you are contributing, or even 7 or 8 years. So you just have to look at it that way. Invest this money, and don't be like the people that keep checking their TSP every day. Like, that is very discouraging. It's just like someone trying to lose weight. If you keep looking at your weight on the scale every single day, you are going to lack the motivation to continue, right? So invest and forget. Invest the money in there, forget it, and then let it just coast. Once in a while, once a month, or once every 2 months, or even every 6 months, you can go in there and take a look at it, right? But there are some people that just want to keep checking it every single, and that is fine too. But I wouldn't personally do that, because the market is every weekday, right? Every single weekday, the market will either go up or it will close, it will come down, right? And on the day, if you're looking at it every day and it's going up, hey, you're making money, that's nice. But if you take a look at it one day and it takes a dip, you're screwed, right? So don't be the person to check it every single day. You can check it every month, every week. You know what? I really can't tell you what to do. Do what you think is best for you, but that's just my advice. And that has been it for today's video. If you have any questions or any concerns, feel free to leave it. If I didn't answer it, I believe I tried to answer as much as I can, but if I did not, leave it in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Share it with anyone that wants to get their future secure. They want to secure that bag for the future. Share this video with them, and subscribe to the page. Thank you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.